the fan control board, which is not at all compatible with ours, and we've discontinued the small and the large fan boards. We have produced a board called the Fan 50 Plus. The Fan 50 Plus will replace the Suburban fan board, the Atwood Hydroflame fan board, and all of our previous fan boards. It comes without our cables attached to it. You can use those cables to upgrade an older furnace, or you can use the board to replace the existing Suburban and Atwood fan boards, keeping in mind that the fan feature has to be used. You cannot use this igniter board in a water heater or a refrigerator or anything where you are not using the fan feature. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and test this, and fundamentally it's going to operate just like our older fan boards. 1 minute after the third try fails to sense a flame, it's going to shut the fan motor off. Goes through 3 tries, has local sense if it actually goes into ignition, like that, and that's where it sits. Besides being able to test all those standard 12-volt DC igniter boards, you can, with the use of this little reigniter adapter, test the 12-volt reigniter modules used by Dometic in their AES style refrigerators. Key to the operation of this for proper performance is that every time this generates a spark, it has to send a pulse on the L wire back to the board. That pulse is indicated by this little flashing light so that it can tell the board, now you can open the gas valve and I'll ignite the gas and we'll do what we're supposed to do. If you hook up a reigniter module and it's sparking and you don't get this pulse coming back, that's bad. Pitch it. In addition to the 12-volt furnaces that are in the market that use all of the standard 12-volt DC igniter boards, we have an array of 24-volt AC boards for what's called the park model furnaces. These boards require 24 volts AC to test and or to operate, as opposed to 12 volts DC. Now, one of the easiest ways to determine whether these boards are for Suburbans or Hydroflames or Duotherms, of course, is to read the labels. Questions that come up are, how am I going to tell if it doesn't have a label? Well, they all behave almost identically. But one of the clues is Suburbans, all boards for Suburbans have short standoffs and feet as opposed to the long ones used by Hydroflame and Duotherm and whatever, okay? What I'm going to do is take one of these boards and then later our board, connect it to this tester, which is a 24-volt AC tester and has to be plugged into AC in order to operate. The functions of the switches are identical to the IMT12P. You take the board, connect it to the standard connector, hook up the clip lead. I'm putting this on the side so we can hear the spark when this thing starts. When we turn this on, we get the check light. Hopefully this is a good board. I don't know for a fact whether it is or not. All of the AC boards that I know of in the industry have 2 consistent characteristics. They're all the older large size board. There's your spark. And they all have remote sense. That means they're going to sense the existence of the flame off the finger. And on these boards, as with the IMT12P and the DC boards, if I sense a flame and lock it in without suppressing the spark, you're going to have an opportunity to flex, bend, beat, tweak the components, and again, be careful, that's a 15,000 volt spark, and you got about 150 volts DC over here, so you don't want to get shot. This board appears to be functional. If I put it in the up position, well, I don't want to do this because otherwise I'm going to get bit. So let's turn it off. Hook it to the electrode. Turn it back on. And we're going to have a short delay here, and then we're going to go into, when it goes into ignition, we're going to see the spark in here, and I'll suppress the spark. What will happen is it'll stay on for about 7 seconds, and then it'll go out. And that's out. This board's got some kind of weird problem. You could hear the relay chatter. This is one of the Dinosaur 24 volt AC park model boards. We'll hook that up, hook this over to the side. On our board, if you sense the flame, which is the remote position again, what's going to happen is it will stop the ignition process. So when we turn this on, one of the things, of course, with the Dinosaur board is you have the little green indicator light that comes on green when you get power to the board. It's going to turn red when it goes into ignition. And as soon as I sense a flame, it's going to lock that into the red position. The sparking has stopped. We've got the gas valve open, and that's the way it's going to stay until the thermostat says, okay, we've had enough. The 24 volt AC boards, except for the voltage that's applied, operate very similarly to all the 12 volt DC boards, except they're always a physically larger board, and they all require 24 volts AC, and they all use remote sensing off from the finger. That means that in the furnace you're going to have the multiple electrode ignition sensing system. In addition to the 12P tester, we have a little device here called the Quick Check, so that every technician can toss one in his toolbox and at least test the basic performance of standard 12 volt DC igniter boards. Two drawbacks to this device. Number one, your hands are busy, so it's tough to grab a board and beat and slam and tweak and all of that, okay? Secondly, there's no connection for checking external senses. What I've got here is an instant fire water heater board, which I can hook up here and here. This is a local sense board. This device is capable of sensing remote and local at the same time, so it works on all of the boards that don't have the external sense wire. You connect it up, plug it into the cigarette lighter. As soon as it goes into ignition, you sense a flame. So what we're going to do here is hook this into an adapter that I've got hooked to a battery. The power light comes on, the NC light comes on, goes into ignition, the valve light comes on, I sense a flame, and that's the way it's going to set. Now this board is designed for instant retry. So if I take my finger off the flame sense, the NC light comes back on, then it goes back into ignition, sense a flame. Goes back into ignition, sense a flame. If the board's not working properly, either you're not going to get the spark or you're not going to get the valve. This is a long duration 12-second ignition process on this particular board. Now there are some things you want to be aware of. Don't plug this in first, connect this to the edge, because if you've got an instant fire board, you can't get up here quick enough without getting bit. So you want to be sure, hook this up, before you plug this in. Now, first thing you guys are going to do is you're going to run out, because you don't have a cigarette lighter every place, but you can buy this $8 adapter at the auto store. And if you got smarts enough to take the cap off, you can plug it in, and you're going to hook it to 12 volts somewhere. Now you might hook it up right, or you might hook it up wrong, whichever, okay? If you hook it up wrong, this thing is protected by a clamp diode inside. And hooking it up wrong will blow the fuse that's in the end of this connection. So you won't blow up your tester, but that doesn't mean be careless. It just means pay attention.